From childhood, most people are conditioned to link acceptance with safety. When others approve of us, the brain releases dopamine, the same reward chemical triggered by food, money, or social media likes. Over time, this creates a subtle addiction. You begin relying on external validation to feel worthy, confident, or secure. The problem is that approval is inconsistent and uncontrollable. People change their opinions, lose interest, or simply don't care as much as you think they do. When your self-worth depends on their reactions, your emotions rise and fall with every comment, look, or message. Breaking approval addiction starts with recognizing that validation is a temporary hit, not real confidence. True confidence comes from internal standards, self-respect, and actions aligned with your values, not from trying to please everyone. When you break this psychological dependency, your mind becomes freer, stronger, and far harder to manipulate.
People-pleasing often begins as a survival strategy. Maybe you grew up needing to keep the peace, avoid conflict, or earn approval to feel safe. Over time, this behavior becomes automatic. You say yes when you mean no, you shrink your needs to make others comfortable, and you measure your worth by how useful or agreeable you are. But people-pleasing comes with a hidden cost. You trade respect for acceptance. When you constantly adjust yourself to fit others' expectations, people don't admire you, they learn to expect compliance. You become easy to influence, easy to guilt, and easy to take for granted. The more you try to be liked, the less you are valued. True confidence comes from setting boundaries, expressing your real opinions, and being willing to disappoint others when necessary. Respect grows when you stop performing and start showing up as your authentic self, unfiltered, unapologetic, and grounded in your own worth.
The fear of rejection is one of the deepest psychological drivers behind caring too much about what others think. For many people, this fear begins in childhood, when approval, love, and acceptance felt conditional. A child who learns that mistakes, disagreements, or simply being themselves leads to criticism or withdrawal will grow into an adult who constantly monitors others' reactions. This early experience wires the brain to treat social rejection like a threat. So as adults, people become hyper-focused on pleasing others, avoiding conflict, and gaining approval, even when it means sacrificing their own needs, boundaries, or identity. Understanding this root is powerful once you recognize that the fear isn't about the present moment, but about an old emotional wound. You can start separating your adult decisions from your childhood survival patterns. That's when real freedom begins.
From early childhood, we're taught, sometimes subtly, sometimes directly, to measure our worth by how we compare to others. In school, it's grades. In adolescence, it's looks and popularity. As adults, it becomes money, status, and lifestyle. This constant comparison creates a mental loop where your value is always tied to someone else's performance. The social comparison spiral keeps you insecure because there will always be someone who seems richer, fitter, more successful, or more admired. The mind interprets these comparisons as threats to your identity, pushing you to care more about how you stack up than who you actually are. But true confidence comes when you shift the metric from others to yourself. When your focus becomes growth, progress, and self-respect, instead of competing with everyone around you, the spiral breaks. You stop caring about proving yourself and start caring about becoming yourself.
Many people don't even realize that the identity they live with wasn't built by them. It was shaped by approval, expectations, and the desire to fit in. When your sense of worth comes from how others see you, you become emotionally fragile. Every opinion feels like a threat, every criticism feels personal, and every bit of silence feels like rejection. Living this way turns you into a mirror instead of a person. You reflect what others want to see, rather than who you truly are. The more you adapt to please others, the more you lose your own voice, your own preferences, and your own direction. Reclaiming your identity begins with asking, "Who am I when no one is watching?" When you base your worth on your own values, actions, and integrity, you stop living like a puppet pulled by the strings of external validation. You become grounded, confident, and emotionally free because your identity finally belongs to you.
When you care too much, it often comes from one core issue: weak or non-existent boundaries. You start believing that you're responsible for other people's emotions, reactions, and comfort. You overextend yourself, absorb stress that isn't yours, and constantly try to manage how others feel so they don't get upset, disappointed, or distant. This happens when you confuse kindness with self-erasure. Instead of protecting your emotional space, you allow guilt, pressure, and fear of conflict to dictate your behavior. Over time, you lose your sense of identity because everything you do is shaped by other people's expectations. Real emotional freedom comes from strong boundaries, not walls, but clear limits that protect your mental health. When you understand that other people's feelings are their responsibility, not yours, you stop carrying emotional burdens that were never meant for you. Boundaries aren't selfish. They're the foundation of self-respect and the key to finally caring less in a healthy, empowering way.
Many people live their social lives through a lens of imagined judgment, constantly replaying conversations, analyzing reactions, and predicting how every word or gesture might be perceived. This obsessive mental activity turns ordinary interactions into a source of stress and self-doubt. You begin to prioritize others' opinions over your own comfort, suppressing authentic thoughts and feelings in favor of what you think is acceptable. Over time, this creates a mental prison, a cycle of anxiety, second-guessing, and chronic people-pleasing that erodes self-confidence and drains emotional energy. The root of this overthinking often lies in fear of rejection, low self-worth, and the mistaken belief that approval defines value. True freedom comes from recognizing that other people's judgments are outside your control, shifting focus to your own values, and responding intentionally rather than reactively. By practicing this consistently, you develop emotional resilience, reclaim personal energy, and cultivate genuine confidence, breaking free from the invisible chains of overcaring.
When you care excessively about others' opinions, feelings, or approval, it comes at a steep price. Your mind becomes consumed with worry, replaying social interactions, anticipating criticism, and trying to control outcomes that are ultimately beyond your reach. This constant mental load leads to anxiety, emotional exhaustion, and burnout. Beyond the immediate stress, overcaring diverts time, energy, and focus away from your own goals and growth. Opportunities are missed, ambitions delayed, and potential wasted because so much effort is devoted to managing perceptions rather than building your own life. True liberation comes from recognizing that caring is valuable, but it must be balanced. By setting boundaries, prioritizing your own needs, and detaching from outcomes, you preserve your energy, mental clarity, and the ability to pursue your full potential. Many people unconsciously take on the emotions of those around them, feeling responsible for everyone's happiness, stress, or anger. This constant emotional absorption leads to overwhelm, fatigue, and a blurred sense of self. Emotional detachment doesn't mean becoming cold or indifferent. It means creating healthy mental and emotional boundaries. Techniques like mindful observation, grounding exercises, and conscious breathing allow you to witness others' emotions without internalizing them. Over time, detachment strengthens your resilience, protects your energy, and helps you respond to situations with clarity instead of being swept away by the emotional currents of others. By mastering this skill, you maintain empathy while staying centered, calm, and unshakable.
Relying on external validation leaves you vulnerable to the opinions, moods, and judgments of others. Emotional stability and self-confidence come from cultivating inner authority, the ability to validate yourself, trust your decisions, and measure your worth by your own standards. Building inner authority requires self-reflection, consistent action aligned with your values, and honoring your own commitments. As you strengthen this internal guidance, you no longer seek permission to live your life or worry about approval. You respond to the world from a place of confidence and autonomy, freeing yourself from overcaring, anxiety, and the constant need for external reassurance.